I have been playing Honkai Star Rail since the first hour it got released and have been playing literally every day, and I have farmed a mad amount of relics, but have never leveled an eagle piece. Because back in the day we had nothing. We didn't have the speed set, the HP set, the follow-up attack set, the pioneer set. We had nothing. And I saw that the eagle set got and still is used rarely by some characters, like Bronya, when you can't speak to her yet and just do whatever you can to make her useful, or you're using the eagle set to get that one extra action you're missing to finish the MOC. But maybe now the eagle set has true potential. Now that Feixiao's kit is officially revealed in the livestream, we will discuss how the eagle set has some amazing potential with some very specific characters, whether you should farm its very bad relic domain, discuss whether Ruan Mei is even good with Feixiao, and which notable characters may or may not synergize with Feixiao. But first, let's quickly explain in as many seconds as you have fingers and toes Feixiao's kit. All you need to know is she does a follow-up attack once every turn of hers when an ally attacks, and every 2 attacks of an ally, including hers, she gets a stack. If she has a certain amount of stacks, she can ult and remove stacks. The more stack, the more ult damage. No need to complicate it. Now let's have a look which characters the eagle set has potential with. It has potential with characters like Silverwolf, Pella, and the current running banner, Jiao. Because the first want to apply their debuff as fast as possible on the enemies. That makes sense. And the debuff goes away after X turns of the enemy. So if the enemy is really fast, the debuffs inflicted on them also go away very fast. So the eagle set, because it advances forward the allies' action, you have the ability to implant your debuffs as many times as you want. You refresh the cooldown of the debuff, making it stick longer on the enemy. And the eagle set is good on the debuffers when using them with Feixiao, is because it also makes them act more. So you have longer debuff uptime, plus you have more actions, stacking up Feixiao's stacks, making her able to ult way more. And another reason why this set is good on the debuff, because the debuffers are only really good for boss enemies, and Feixiao is only really run against boss enemies. When you break that HP bar of the boss enemy, all their debuffs get removed. So holding onto that ult when you break their HP bar really helps a lot. So when you break their HP bar, you ult, their action gets forwarded, you can again apply all your lost debuffs on them. And of course, on small enemies, having long uptime of debuffs isn't really needed because small enemies die quite fast. But that depends on how well built your characters are, of course. It may work in your case. So let's break it down. If we use the eagle set on Silverwolf, you want to have your Silverwolf in a debuff mode. You want to stack her talent debuffs as fast as possible on the enemy, so you can get this little bit of 3% extra alt-type res from her skill, but that's quite neglectable. The stacking of her talent debuffs is the most important thing, and the debuffs of Silverwolf last for 3 turns, which is quite nice, so the uptime isn't that big of a problem. Just getting those 3 debuffs on the enemy is quite hard. That's why the eagle set is quite useful on her. But with Pella, ult defense debuff lasts only for 2 turns. It's quite alright, not that long. But the eagle set really is useful for her light cone. The defense debuff only lasts for 1 turn. So when the enemy takes action, it's already lost. And of course, with this eagle set, you can charge your ult way faster. So the uptime of the debuffs are easier because you have more actions. Your ult regenerates way faster. But Pella doesn't really have that problem, because she has many bonuses in her kit that give her extra energy, like her talent, her E1. And another nice thing of Pella is she gets a 10% extra speed buff when you remove a buff from an enemy, which is also nice with Feixiao. That way Pella can do more attacks and charge Feixiao's stacks faster. And now the eagle set on Jiao. On him it's actually quite good, because his Ashen Roast stacks can stack up to 5 times. So if you can get that extra action forward from the eagle, you can stack it ASAP. But one thing I'm conflicted about on using this set on him is his ult. Because after 3 turns of Jiao's turn, the ult goes away. So if he's faster, he loses his ult faster. But I'd say stacking up his Ashen Roast is way more important. And his ult also has a limit of stacking his Ashen Roast, because it can trigger up to 6 times at the start of an enemy's turn. So that's why I'd also recommend using it on him, this set. And of course we have Feixiao herself. Is this eagle set good on her? I'd say no. just stick with the latest 4-piece set we got, which increases her crit damage because you want to go full on DPS mode on her. And of course for the planner sets, just use the new Valorous set or the Inner Soto, whatever you have farmed more. And now, should you farm this really bad Relic domain? Because the Eagle set is now quite usable, but Relic domain is really bad. Because the only time I've ever farmed this domain is when farming the Ice set for Jinglui, if you didn't use the Quantum set on her. And also for Yanqing, I've also farmed this set too. And if you're a Misha main, you may already have farmed the Ice set too. And of course, I also had farmed this set for Herta, because we didn't have the follow-up attack set. If you're an endgame player, I'd suggest farming the Eagle domain for the debuffers if you really want to min-max the teams of Feixiao and see how they perform, because it looks quite fun and you play this game to have fun. And theoretically it even sounds good, the Eagle sets on the debuffers, but I still need to play around and see if it is really applicable. But why not? I will do it, and I recommend you to do it too if you're an endgame player and have all the resources you need, because you have then really nothing to lose. And of course, I don't recommend to farm this domain if you can't beat the endgame yet. If you can't beat Memory of Chaos, Purification and Apocalyptic Shadow, because there are way more efficient things to farm. Build up your supports, build up your healers, build up your DPSs, and farm, of course, Relic domains, which cover the most characters, like the Speed domain with the HP domain, because many healers and Harmony characters use this set. And of course, another way to get the Eagle set, even if you don't want to farm the domain, is just using the Relic remains and the self-modeling resin, of course. But I don't recommend that personally, because I always used the Relic remains and self-modeling resins for new released Relic sets to play with them as fast as possible. But it's up to you, of course. Not every game has to be a micro resource managing duty. Just do whatever you have the most fun with. And I think using the Eagle set on the debuffers looks quite fun and good even. And now, let's have a look where the Ruan Mei is even good with Feixiao. Because Feixiao wants everyone in her team really fast and they need to attack. But Ruan Mei really doesn't benefit from that. Because when Ruan Mei is fast, her skill and ultimate go away faster. Because at the start of her turn, she loses 1 stack. In comparison with the debuffers, they don't lose anything. They apply debuffs. And when Ruan Mei even takes action, all she does is an auto attack most of times. And that auto attack really doesn't give a team-wide benefit. Of course, the buffs she gives is truly game-breaking. The weakness break efficiency, the extra damage, the extra break damage. But I think Feixiao has better teammates than Ruan Mei. But Ruan Mei also gives a 10% speed buff though. It's really quite a difficult situation, because you need to make a comparison. Is that extra damage for the whole team of Ruan Mei worth it for the almost no benefit when it's her turn? That's something I will need to test and see how it goes. And because I personally run Ruan Mei slow with the sprightly set, she gets a turn before everyone. I have a energy rope on her. She does an auto attack, she can pop the ult, and that's it. For the rest of the game she's very slow, and in those 2 turns her ult is up, everybody already dies most of the times. And if she is very fast, you lose her ult. And that goes in contradiction with what Feixiao wants for her teammates. So what notable characters have a synergy with Feixiao or not? I personally think Jade is quite good with Feixiao, but not as in that Jade wants to buff Feixiao, but a Jade, Blade and Bronya team with Feixiao. That looks quite fun, because there is no sustainer. You get a lot of actions from Blade, because his follow-up attack charges 2 times as fast, because Jade consumes Blade's HP. And Jade does a lot of follow attacks because of Blade. Because the first thing I thought was like, yeah, Jade and Feixiao are really amazing, because Jade wants her DPS to be very fast. But the DPS also needs to attack a lot of enemies, and since Feixiao is a single target DPS, Jade's stacks would never stack up, and Jade would almost never do a follow-up attack. And of course you can put away Jade and Blade from the team and use Bronya with Feixiao and 2 other characters, which we will discuss in a moment. But Bronya and Feixiao are also really nice, because Bronya gives Feixiao an extra action, making Feixiao's follow-up attack reset, being able to do 1 extra follow-up attack. But you want to have someone between Feixiao and Bronya, otherwise that extra follow-up attack Feixiao gets from her new turn is wasted. And it can get quite funky sometimes with Feixiao and depending on her teammates. Because if you, for example, use also Asta on that team, the speed tuning might get off, everything gets slightly weird. Before you know it, the Bronya is in front of Feixiao because of all the different speed buffs. So you really need to know what happens regarding the speed. It looks quite fun, but it might get clunky. And of course, Asta is really amazing with Feixiao because her ult literally gives 50 speed to everyone in the team, and preferably the enemy should have fire weakness, so that whenever Asta gets a turn, you kill, allowing you to break the enemy's toughness bar way faster. And a fun team with Feixiao and Asta is like a triple fire with Feixiao team. Asta with Topaz and Yao or whoever you want, with no sustainer, looks quite fun. And of course you can use a sustainer like Lingsha, because Lingsha looks like a healing Topaz, so that already says that she's quite good with Feixiao. And why is she a healing Topaz? Because Lingsha has also a pet that attacks every time, allowing Feixiao's attacks to fill up way faster. And of course, no question, Topaz is amazing with Feixiao. Numpy literally bounces 24/7 between the enemy and you. Another interesting character that looks quite funny with Feixiao is Firefly, because Firefly is really fast. She gets a lot of speed when she's in ult mode, but if she's out of the ult mode, she is basically dead weight, and because her ult is so expensive, it might get clunky. But it looks like a very fun combination to try out. And I even think that Yanqing could be a good teammate for Feixiao, because Yanqing has a fixed percentage to do an extra attack whenever he attacks an enemy, which is a follow-up attack. So keep that in mind, it looks quite interesting. And we also got the good old Seele. And maybe now Seele can be useful for Feixiao, depending on who the enemy is, of course. Because Seele gets an extra turn when she kills an enemy with her basic attack skill or ult. But if she can't kill anybody, she's useless and her damage is quite lacking. But her light cone is also quite synergistic with Feixiao, because the more speed Seele has, the more damage she does. Because Feixiao wants a very fast team, so you can run Seele with Feixiao and Asta and the sustainer and go Speedy Gonzalez. And it also might be Hanya's time to shine finally, because her ult gives quite a lot speed. So if you use the ult on Feixiao, Feixiao can go nuts. And she also gets a lot of attack percentage. And since Hanya's ult buff is based on how much speed Hanya herself has, it's a beautiful combination. But one thing that's quite unfortunate is Hanya's burden, because it doesn't account for the follow-up attack Feixiao does. So only Feixiao's basic attack skill or ultimate gets an extra damage benefit from the burden, and not the follow-up attack, which is quite a shame, but still it might work. Looks fun. And also, it goes without saying, Moze is her right hand. He does a lot of attacks, like they explained in the live stream. Amazing with Feixiao. We need to see how good, but it looks good. And of course, imagining March 7th, also great Feixiao. Just make Feixiao the Shifu, giving her extra speed. And since Feixiao is used in a fast team, Feixiao will do a lot of attacks, a lot of follow-up attacks, allowing March 7th's talent stacks to stack up way faster. And we got Yukong. Yukong got quite a good buff, I'd say, because Yukong gives so many great stats to the whole team. Amazing crit rate and crit damage, but she is so inconsistent without her E6. With Yukong, you want to have teammates who do attacks outside of their turn, and that is what Feixiao does, and that is what Moze does, that is what Topaz does, that is what Dr.Ratio does, and even Lingsha and Aventurine. So the ideal situation for Yukong would be a scenario like this. There is an enemy, he has Dr.Ratio's ult on him, so your Yukong is E6, she ult, Dr.Ratio does follow-up attack, Feixiao does a follow-up attack, and even Moze does follow-up attack, or whatever other team you have, like Topaz. That could be a quite interesting thing to test out, and looks amazing. Yukong might have some great potential now. And as we said, Dr.Ratio does actions outside of his turn, because when he's killed, he has a fixed chance. Follow-up attack, his ult marks an enemy. Whenever an ally attacks the enemy, you follow-up attacks again, but you need a debuffer in the team, which could be someone like Silverwolf, Zhao, or Pella. And of course, Aventurine also works great with Feixiao, because whenever an ally follow-up attacks, he gets a stack, allowing him to follow-up attack when he has a certain amount of stacks. But Aventurine is preferred for bosses who attack your whole team, but he is such a broken support, it doesn't really matter. And of course, Robin is amazing with Feixiao. It goes without saying. Everyone gets an immediate action when Robin uses her ult, and she even increased the crit damage of all allies, their follow attacks, But one thing I'm conflict about is when Robin uses her ult, she can no longer take actions. Sure, everyone gets a turn, but those are 3 characters. You lose 1 character in return, and of course everyone gets a buff. But we need to see how that goes. Like, is it worth to lose 1 character for 3 characters to have a extra turn and increase damage? I'd say I'd take that trade, but who knows? We need to test that out. And of course, an extra thing, the Dance light cone got an immense buff with Feixiao's presence. It's the best in slot light cone for almost any Harmony character run with Feixiao with, so keep that in mind. And it is now all up to you how you want to match those potential synergistic characters with Feixiao. Mix and match everyone. Look at what other teams you can create. So in the end, Feixiao looks quite good with double or even triple DPS teams. You can even go without Sustainer, which looks the most fun. It's all up to you how you want to mix everything. Just go loco. And if you're also an OG endgame player, then you can easily help other beginner players and make their life so much easier by applying the tip in this video right here, because this way we can put our broken characters to use for new players. And of course, let me know if you see any other cool, fun synergies with Feixiao or team setups you have thought of, and let me know if I've missed anything, because we are here to learn from each other, and I see you the next time. Thank you for your time.